Tuesday's World Cup match between the United States and Iran will be closely watched not only for its tournament implications, but also to shine a light on the massive human rights protest movement that has swept Iran this fall. Iran's players made a strong statement against England in their World Cup opener on Monday at the Khalifa International Stadium. As the Iranian national anthem played before the game, the players remained silent in solidarity with those protesting at home. In this video, we'll take a look at the real reason why Iran players didn't sing their own national anthem during the World Cup. The FIFA World Cup 2022 has already been clouded by controversy, and the match between Iran and England on day 2 of the mega-event was no exception. Before their World Cup match against England, the Iranian team reportedly refused to sing their national anthem. As the national anthem played at Khalifa International Stadium, all 11 starting players stood silently. Even Iranian fans in the audience seemed to appreciate their gesture, chanting "Woman, Life, Freedom." Iran's state television abruptly interrupted its coverage of the national anthem and switched to a previously shown wide shot of the stadium. Some fans were turned away from the game because they were carrying a Persian flag rather than an Iranian flag. The Persian flag has a lion and sun in the center, while the Iranian flag has a red Islamic emblem with Kufic script written above and below. So, why didn't the Iranian team play their national anthem? The Iranian team apparently did not sing their national anthem to express their support for the ongoing anti-government civilian protests at home. So far, 400 people have been killed in the protests, while the authorities have arrested approximately 17,000 people in a nationwide crackdown. Before the game, Iran's captain, Ahsan Hadsafi, stated that the team supports those who have been killed by the authorities. Previously, Iranian government critics claimed that the Iranian football team was supporting the ruthless Iranian government, which also met with President Ibrahim Raisi last week. Why is Iran experiencing a massive civilian uprising? Protests erupted in September after Iran's so-called morality police killed a 22-year-old woman named Mahsa Amini for allegedly violating head-covering rules. Many experts believe that the protests are among the most serious challenges to the Iranian theocratic government since the 1979 Iranian Revolution. Fans also chanted Amini's name during the match against England. The protests on the Qatari soccer field follow recent courageous acts of defiance in Iran's film and television industries, some of which have had serious consequences. As the World Cup continues, some political observers will be curious whether Iran's soccer team will return home without incident, or whether they will seek political asylum. According to the human rights activist news agency, Iran has arrested nearly 16,000 protests since then, and 351 people have died during protests. Due to protests, Iran has also reportedly sentenced 3 people to death and 5 others to 5 to 10 years in prison. The football players are not the first to demonstrate defiance of the Iranian government on an international stage. Many Iranian athletes and celebrities have come out in support of the protesters, and some have even come with potentially dire consequences. Elnaz Rekabi, an Iranian professional climber, did not cover her hair during an international competition in October, and her safety was called into question even after she returned home. The football team's decision to remain silent during the national anthem is likely the most visible show of support. The Iranian team's captain, Ahsan Hadsafi, addressed the situation in Qatar, saying, "We are with them and sympathize with them," and offering his condolences to all the bereaved families of Iran. What does the Iranian government have to say? The Iranian government is simply blaming foreign enemies for the 2-month-long protests that have engulfed the country. Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei recently warned that the enemies have been defeated until this hour. Thank God. But the enemies are up to something new every day, and with today's defeat, they may target different classes, such as workers and women. What is the future for the Iranian team? The Iranian football team is expected to hold more protests. Carlos Queiroz, the Iranian team's manager, has already stated that his players are free to protest about women's rights in their home country as long as it conforms to World Cup regulations and is in the spirit of the game. As protests against the government's treatment of protesters took place inside and outside the stadium in Qatar and across Iran, Some Iranians celebrated their team's loss to the United States and subsequent exit from the World Cup. The contest between the Iranian and American sides, whose countries severed diplomatic ties more than 40 years ago, was held under increased security to avoid a flare-up over the anti-government protests that have erupted across Iran since Mahsa Amini's death in custody. When the game was lost, journalist Masih Alinejad tweeted videos of the celebrations, writing, "Iran is a country where people are very passionate about football. They are now celebrating the defeat of their football team against the US in the streets of Sanandaj." She also shared a video of fireworks being set off in Mahsa Amini's hometown of Saks. According to Al Jazeera, Iranian women were allowed to enter a football stadium for the first time in 40 years in 2019, but have only been allowed to attend a handful of national matches since. For 40 years, the Islamic Republic prohibited women from entering stadiums. And now people are chanting woman, life, freedom to celebrate being kicked out of the World Cup. Alinejad wrote above a video from Kermanshah in western Iran. Iranians also celebrated in Marivan, one of the cities in western Iran's Kurdish-populated regions, where security forces intensified a 24-hour crackdown on 21 November, directly shooting at protesters and using heavy weapons, according to rights groups. There were also celebrations in Tehran and Sanandaj, the capital of Kurdistan. The celebrations came after protesters and the Iranian government's crackdown were highlighted outside the stadium in Doha. Everyone should be aware of this. We don't have a voice in Iran. An Iranian living in the United States named Sam told sources. Elham spoke by phone from Tehran shortly before kickoff, saying she wanted the US to win because victory for the national team, known as Team Melli, would be a gift for Iranian authorities. "This is not my national team," I say. "It's not Melli's team, it's the mullah's team," she explained. Before the match, extra security personnel, some on horseback, patrolled outside Doha's Al Thumama Stadium, while guards at the perimeter made Iranians unfurl their flags before entering. Along with regular security guards, police were stationed throughout the stadium. Some were armed with batons. To the delight of Iranian supporters, a group of fans briefly held up letters spelling Mahsa Amini's name early in the second half. Security guards took their signs but let them stay in their seats. Under pressure to publicly support domestic protesters, the Iranian team refused to sing the national anthem in their first game, which they lost 6-2 to England. However, they sang it again before the second game, a 2-0 win over Wales, and again on Tuesday. When Iran lost to England, there was also joy in Tehran. After the game, journalists witnessed security chasing two people in a series of scuffles on the stadium's perimeter. 3 guards pinned one man to the ground, who was wearing a t-shirt with the words "Woman, Life, Freedom," the Iranian protest movement's central slogan. As guards surrounded him, the man yelled repeatedly, "Woman, Life, Freedom." According to a witness, the altercation started when guards attempted to remove the man's shirt. The shirts bore the names of people killed in Iran, as well as their ages, according to Nika Nikolshina, a group member. "We want everyone to remember that there is more to life than FIFA and fun, and that there is a war going on," she said. Stadium security removed the balaclavas and politely escorted the women out of the stadium after the game, according to Nikolshina, who invaded the pitch in 2018 during the World Cup final in Moscow. And with that being said, it's time to end our video. Subscribe to the channel for more amazing videos like this. We'll see you with another interesting video.